It all started in April when Burundi's president sought a third term in office. Protests followed, some violent. Even a military coup failed. All the while, the unrest forced thousands into neighboring counties. Some refugees fled Burundi and went south to Tanzania, most to a temporary camp in Kigoma. The CBC's Willie Lowry is there with our story.
They've come in the tens of thousands, bringing as much as they could carry to this remote fishing village on Lake Tanganyika. But the sliver of sand can barely contain them. They have no shelter, little food, and no clean drinking water. We sleep on the ground without anything to sleep on, Anne-Marie Manarakiza says. We have nothing to eat. Even the mothers who are breastfeeding their children breastfeed without having eaten. It's like we're nomads. Many have been here for weeks, essentially stranded.
We're dealing with a large community of people in an isolated area in a village called Kagunga that is not accessible by road and can only be transported by ship.
The United Nations only has 2 ferries and can only carry so many people out at a time. On the beach, dehydration, diarrhea, and now cholera are rampant.
Recently, we've seen mortality from among children and also among adults. Therefore, the whole population is at risk.
And yet, despite the horrible conditions, many here are simply happy not to be in Burundi. Most are still haunted by the country's decades-long civil war and fear the current violence back home could unravel once again. These young university students say the ruling party's youth wing came and threatened them at school. I left Burundi because of the bad situation, Abrita Bosco says. Because in Burundi there is a bad political situation. There are people called the Imbonerakure. These are the people close to those in power. They come terrify those who support the opposition. The UN hopes to get the mass of people to a more permanent refugee camp within the next 3 weeks. But continuing violence pushes more and more people to flee to here every day. For these Burundians, each boat ride brings hope of a better future. And while it's not as good as being in Burundi, the promise of a safe haven in Tanzania is cause for celebration. Willie Lowry, CBC News, Kigoma, Tanzania.